Hello, I am Aparna Pai from Miles, the Manipal Center for Innovation, Leadership and Entrepreneurship at the Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Mahe, Bengaluru, and I'll be your host for this podcast. Welcome to the Miles podcast, where we bring together founders, innovators, investors, industry leaders, and educators to explore the ideas shaping the future of entrepreneurship and innovation. Entrepreneurship today is often associated with startups, founding rounds, and unicorns. But at its heart, it's about identifying opportunities, solving meaningful problems, and creating value that makes a lasting impact. Whether you're a student, an aspiring founder, a working professional, or simply curious about innovation and entrepreneurship, this podcast is for anyone who believes that entrepreneurship is more than starting a business. It's a mindset for solving problems, creating value, and driving meaningful change. Joining us today is Raghupathi Kavale, Director of Miles at Mahe, Bengaluru. With over 4 decades of experience spanning technology, innovation, and digital transformation, including more than 2 decades in senior leadership at Infosys, Raghupathi has led several landmark national digital transformation initiatives. Today, he continues to mentor entrepreneurs, startups, and innovation ecosystems while also teaching technology and innovation. Raghu, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Welcome to the Miles podcast.
Thank you for having me here.
So, Raghu, entrepreneurship means different things to different people. When you hear the word entrepreneurship today, what does it mean to you, and why do you believe it has become such an important skill in today's world?
That's a good question. Let me take it at a very high plane. With the growing technology, especially artificial intelligence and other things, I think the world is ready for a change. And at every change, if you look at it, the innovation on entrepreneurship becomes very important. We have had, if you look at the leaders in any of the stock exchanges today, you take it as the New York Stock Exchange or the Nasdaq or the Bombay Stock Exchange, there's always a churn. Sometimes it's in 10 years, sometimes it's in 15 years, sometimes it's in 30 years. For example, 30-40 years back, Reliance, Infosys, Airtels of the world did not exist. Today they are the leaders in the stock exchange. And in the concept of starting off as a startup, capital and money flows from a startup to a private equity firm to the stock exchange. So startups of today are going to be the behemoths of tomorrow. Obviously, some will succeed, some will sort of be average, some may not succeed, but we need at least 10 to 15 of them to become behemoths for the nation, to have good paying jobs, good value creation, and good enterprises to lead national growth. So that is where entrepreneurship becomes important, because the startups of today sort of create the funnel for the behemoths of tomorrow. The second, as I said, is with artificial intelligence. The corporate world and the careers for students as we knew it is sort of taking a different turn. Earlier, during our days, it used to be you do a good degree, possibly in engineering, and then do a second degree in management, join a good corporate at the bottom of the ladder, and then rise, maybe sometimes fast, maybe rise average, but then rise up to your level of excellence and possibly become the CEO. That is the dream career. But today, with AI increasing productivity, changing leadership styles, etc., I think there is going to be a sea change where entrepreneurship is going to be the path for your own independence, and it is going to be the path where you can put your own ideas to progress. And with corporate downsizing, AI productivity increases becoming the norm, this could give you the freedom that you are looking for. So this is a good question in two sense. It means a lot to the nation, it means a lot to the individual. So obviously entrepreneurship is something very important that we have to focus on.
Interesting. So, one of the most debated questions is whether entrepreneurs are born or made. From your experience, can entrepreneurship truly be taught? If so, what are the key ingredients that help develop an entrepreneurial mindset?
So this has always been the question of nature or nurture. So there are some who say that entrepreneurs are by nature, have to be born by nature. Fair enough, that is one school of thought. But then you had this entire MBA wave where people were taught about how to manage an enterprise, etc., etc., and many of them are doing fairly well. Now, there have been other fields, noticeably acting, sports, and so on and so forth. Now, if you take acting for example, it was first considered to be an art, but today there are schools for acting, there are schools for drama. The same thing that goes with sports. There are coaching camps, there are coaching places where sports is taught and sports has become an industry. Now, entrepreneurship is art, science, street smartness all rolled into one. And where does the science come into play? You have a whole lot of statistical evidence as to why certain organizations actually fare well, why certain organizations don't fare well. And you have a lot of evidence as to why certain startups succeed and become behemoths, why certain of them don't do so. Now, these are observations which can be done with rigor, academic rigor, and taught to the students so that they can actually look at not making the mistakes that some of their forebears made in terms of not getting their enterprise to scale or not getting the innovation to work or whatever it is. Similarly, there are many other aspects that one would consider when one would like to hand off to a student, especially in terms of mentorship. But of course, it has to be done in a different manner. It may not be the typical classroom sage on the stage sort of a manner, sage on the stage sort of a manner.
So, next question I'd like to ask you is about the role of universities. Like traditionally, universities prepared students for careers, but today they are also expected to prepare students to innovate, solve complex problems, and even create their own ventures. What role do you believe universities should play in nurturing entrepreneurial talent?
Yeah, if you look at Howard Gardner's seminal work on minds of the future, you have a disciplined mind and an innovative mind. Of course, you have the other three minds, but we just stick to these two. Now, earlier on, possibly till a decade back or till about a few years back, a university was supposed to teach a discipline, which is what we call a disciplined mind. He was expected to teach the discipline of engineering or discipline of law, etc. Good. However, if you want to combine it with the other minds, especially the innovative mind, you have to actually teach a lot of other traits like teamwork and ability to look at what is innovation and ability to spot innovation and so on and so forth. Now, a university is a very good place to teach this. The simple reason, a student leaves high school and at a very precocious age of 17 or 18 he enters the portals of a university, and the university is what shapes him, and also he finds himself, his interests, what exactly he is good at, his what company he is good at, what sort of peer company would he like to keep, etc. Now, this defining environment is what a university is expected to create. The role of the university is also changing. The role of the university is changing tremendously because they are becoming the gap between an industry and a student. And the role of the degree is also changing. Today, universities are looking for more collaboration with industries. So, the role of the university is to bring in the expertise of how startups are built from actual founders who led that effort and imbibe it into the students, mentor the students, creating a mentoring ecosystem essentially to drive entrepreneurship among the entire society.
Since you're the founding member of Miles, I would like to ask you what inspired the founding of Miles and what gap did you see in entrepreneurship education and what impact did you hope Miles would create for learners and the broader innovation ecosystem?
Thank you for asking that question. The government is doing a lot of good work in promoting uh, innovation and entrepreneurship. They have the Atal Mission, they have the ANRF, they have put a lot of funds at the disposal of universities to actually nurture the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. The industry is also doing its bit because there's a lot of venture capital that is available for good ideas. The problem is that the entrepreneurship has to increase his probability of success. Now, a prepared mind is always very good to increase your probability of success in any field, be it preparing for an exam where you prepare and go, or you want to prepare for a big game when you are playing sport, or you are preparing for anything. The preparation is always one of the key ways to see that your probability of success in that particular endeavor increases. It could be even a social event like hosting a play or whatever it is. Now, having said that, what we are trying to do in Miles is to prepare a student for the world of entrepreneurship. We start with courses like Are You Ready to Be an Entrepreneur, where we teach what is the mindset of an entrepreneur. We also go on to actually looking at how does somebody spot mega trends in the entire industry or entire economy, and we also see how does it take something from ideation to reality. From there we go on to actually teaching basics of building an organization like sales and marketing, and from there on, financing an idea is equally important. How do you not only convince the investor, but how do you find the right sort of investor? And finally, how do you build an organization for success by hiring the right sort of talent? I think this is a set of about 10 courses that we have with 2 projects, and this is what we offer in various combinations by very experienced faculty who have actually done this in the industry and have been successful at it. They spend their time teaching this to the students. And we, of course, when students come with their projects, we also have one-on-one mentorship where we assign faculty or anybody from the industry as mentors to this faculty. This, we hope, will increase their odds of success, and we are seeing green shoots in that, in the sense that some of the cohorts that we have, some of the students have gone on to establish startups of their own. Of course, it's a little too early to say what shape and direction it will take, but we are very happy so far with the progress.
Great. So, with your career spanning over 4 decades, you worked with entrepreneurs, innovators, and business leaders throughout your career. In your experience, what do you think differentiates entrepreneurs who succeed from those who don't? Is it the quality of their idea, the ability to execute, or their willingness to experiment and learn through trial and error, or something entirely different?
Yeah, Aparna, all the 3 that you said are very important. There is no doubt about that. But one thing which most people don't see is entrepreneurship is a patient, long journey, and in that journey there will be pitfalls. There will be one or two chasms where an entrepreneur will fall, and he will think to himself, can I even get out of this? but he needs to have that mental strength to pull out of the chasm and get moving. I have had the you can call it universe or fate has given me the privilege of talking to many people who have been successful in life, and I can talk about the organization which I came from, Infosys. Mr. Murthy tells us of a time 5 years into their journey when they almost sold the company for $1 million. I am sure that there are similar stories exist in other startups like Google. I'm sure such stories exist in Reliance. I'm sure such stories exist with any other startup that we have, like Nvidia. There would have been those dark days. It is that resilience. If you ask me to make one thing, it is that resilience that defines you. Everybody thinks that entrepreneurship is a journey, as they show in some Bollywood or Hollywood movies, where before interval somebody thinks of an idea and after the interval of the movie he becomes a multi-billionaire. No. You take any journey, by the time you see some tangible results, it takes almost about 10 years. And in these 10 years there will be ups and downs. It is how you navigate these ups and downs is what defines you.
Great. Thank you so much, Raghu, for sharing your insights and experiences with us. It's been a very fascinating conversation, and I'm sure our listeners have gained a deeper understanding of entrepreneurship and not just seeing it as a pathway to build a business, but build a mindset for solving problems, creating value, and driving meaningful change. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the very first episode of the Miles podcast. In the coming episodes, we'll continue to bring in conversations with founders, innovators, investors, industry leaders, and educators who are shaping the future of entrepreneurship and innovation. Stay connected with us for more meaningful insights and conversations. Until next time, thank you for listening.